Walruses are amazing, and if you've been following this channel for any period of time, you probably know they are my favorite animal.
Love you. I love you, I love you, I love you!
But I imagine that whoever owns this boat has a bit of a different opinion. So this walrus has wandered a little further south than their native range. She has found herself in Norway, and the natives call her Freya, after the Norse god of love and beauty, which is fitting because I think she is beautiful, and she is the topic of this week's Behavior Breakdown. A lot of people have been asking me about Freya. Why is she so far south? Is she healthy? Does she need to be rescued? Can she be rescued? And why is this walrus destroying boats? We'll get to that after a real quick reminder to hit that like and subscribe button and that bell if you want to be notified when our next video goes live. Okay, so one of the main reasons that I love walruses is because of how unique they are as a species. Look at this animal. There is literally nothing like it in the world. They are the only living species in their family and genus, and I do think that the fact that a number of people are getting to experience this animal up close and personal is pretty neat. But at the same time, this walrus is not supposed to be here. There was another walrus last summer named Wally who wandered his way down to Ireland, but in general, walruses don't go this far south. There could be a lot of reasons that Freya has found herself in this interesting new climate. That could be climate change, ocean temperature change. Freya could be following a food source, or this could just be happenstance. Sometimes animals get lost. In this case, Freya appears to be thriving, but the boats around her are not. And there are a few reasons why she is sinking these boats. And it is not because Freya is a destructive animal or just on a mission to ruin people's nautical hobbies. What normally happens for walruses is they will spend days out to sea foraging for food, sometimes even close to a week without coming to land. And while they are out to sea, walruses do not truly sleep. They can rest, but they never really enter that REM cycle, that very regenerative form of sleep. So then what they do after a few days out to sea, eating as many clams as they could find, is they come back inland or onto an ice floe, haul out, and they sleep. And they sleep. And they sleep. I have personally watched a walrus sleep for 3 days straight. And that's what Freya's doing here when she hauls out onto a boat. She is simply hauling out for a place to sleep. And while she could haul out on the land, that tends to be just a little bit more of a dangerous place than something that is floating in the ocean. And that is because on land, walruses are not very graceful animals. You can see that in water, they are like little chunky ballerinas. But on land, they become a bit more like a cow zipped up in a sleeping bag. So being on land is not necessarily the most comfortable place for them. On land, they are at risk to attack from polar bears. And so here, being around a number of people on land is not her ideal resting place. As I mentioned though, Freya does appear to be in pretty good shape. This is a decently chunky walrus. She's probably about 5 years old. Looks like she's finding a decent food source, and she doesn't have any other walruses to compete with. A lot of people have been asking me though why they do not just relocate Freya. And while I haven't spoken with the Norwegian Minister of Climate and the Environment about Freya, I can offer a few insights into my general experience with walrus and why I think this is not just an easy option for people. First of all, simply herding this animal in the direction that you'd like it to go is really not an option. That would be A, a logistical nightmare, B, probably quite stressful for the animal, and C, very ineffective as they could easily swim under whatever obstacles you were trying to use to herd them in the direction. So really what you're looking at is having to capture the animal, which requires anesthesia. That is really the only option for this very large and dangerous animal. Anesthesia has been perfected through the decades with domesticated animals and humans alike, but not so with marine mammals. Anesthesia with seals, sea lions, and walruses can be very, very tricky because they will often just stop breathing. In fact, as far as I know, there are only a few veterinarians in the world who are qualified to do an anesthesia procedure on a walrus, and as near as I know, none of them live in Norway. So they have been trying to come up with other solutions to prevent Freya from sinking boats. They even made her very own Freya walrus float, a little haul-out special made for her that was a safe place for her to come and rest, but she seems to prefer the boats. And even if she climbs up on a boat and then in a few days climbs off and doesn't actually ever sink the boat, let me assure you, these boats are likely ruined. I have seen what comes out of the back end of a walrus during a 3-day sleepathon, and it is not possible to get that out of your upholstery or floorboards. So it will be pretty interesting to see what types of solutions they start to come up with for this very interesting problem that they have, but I, in the meantime, am a little bit jealous. I would love to see Freya. But I do hope that anyone watching and the people surrounding her do understand that walruses are dangerous. I mean, just look at the size of her. They can be very aggressive when threatened. So please enjoy her from a safe distance, don't harass her, don't feed her, and don't get too close to her. But take lots of pictures and send them to me. And that's something we've talked a bit about on this channel, how to respectfully observe wildlife. You can catch our latest video about sea lions up here. And I'm sure we will be talking about it again. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and that bell button, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Is that 20? Yeah. Thanks, Kristen. Thank you.
You're in advance, Kristen.
Can't resist. What about roar? Okay, sing. Good. Can you do sexy talk again? Sputter. Good. You're so pretty. You got something on your head though. Okay, and then this new one. It's really quiet. Hum. Good. That's smart boy. You guys want to touch her?